You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. In today's episode, we're going to fill you in on a little bit of county news, but also take some time to bring some Salisbury University students in to talk about some of the budget cuts and some of the challenges they're facing. But to start, I brought in Mike Goldberg from Del Mar. Thanks for coming out.
Always my pleasure.
So we do have some news. We just last week, County Councilman Shane Baker did resign his post in District 3. He is moving to Delaware.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, good for him. A little less taxes, I hear.
Well, he's building a nice new house there, and we certainly wish him all the best.
Yeah, it's been good in a way to have a conservative voice there, but everybody has it's time to move on, and for him, it's now. So. I do want to clear up one piece of misinformation that has been circulated out there. Already our county executive, through the Central Committee, which she has firm control over, has come out and said that if anyone wishes to apply for that position in District 3, they should do so through the Central Committee, which they can do. That is perfectly fine, but it's not necessary. The County Council will be selecting the next person in District 3. They will get recommendations from the Central Committee. But if anyone does wish to apply, they must be a registered voter in District 3, Wicomico County, as a Republican. They have to be registered as a Republican. And all they need to do is email the County Council. And in order to find out an email to, say, President John Cannon or Vice President Jeff Merritt, just need to go to wicomicocounty.org, and all that information's there for them.
That's all there is to it. It's a little bit disturbing, however, that the information that has been put forth before the public was that you have to go through the Republican Central Committee. And this is coming directly from the executive's office and their third-party public information office, and it's misleading. And it's they told 50% of the story, not the whole thing.
Well, and this is the cycle that they've come into, even reaching out and questioning our credibility. Don't take our word for it. Read the county charter. I mean, I didn't write the charter. I didn't vote on the charter. The charter says this: the county council. This says they may select someone from the recommendation from the Central Committee. But I mean, let's face it. The Central Committee right now is completely controlled by our county executive. They also, people need to know, they have firm control over the Republican club. So, I mean, you and I are both registered Republicans. We're both conservatives. I'm in no position right now to support either of those organizations with my campaign dollars to support that. Although I'll continue to support other conservative candidates. So
yeah, absolutely, and it is what I consider to be a grossly dishonest effort to circumvent the council. It's an effort to ensure that the county, an acolyte or supporter of the county executive, is selected. Mm-hmm. It's not how the system works. The charter is abundantly clear on that. Let's adhere to the charter.
So let's talk about breaking that system a little bit. I want to bring in 3 Salisbury University students, a grad student, 2 undergrads from different backgrounds, different majors, because Salisbury University is facing one of the same types of budget crisis that we're seeing in the state of Maryland and also trickling down to Wicomico County, where there's a tightening of the belt, but we're seeing a ballooning of overheads, especially with the administrative and the executive departments there. I want to spend some time talking to those students about how this is going to impact their experience at SU, maybe even their careers, and then afterwards, I'd like to come back and get a few words in from both of us.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing these students, and
well, stay with us. When we come back, we're going to take some time with the Salisbury University students. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. Wanted to take some time today to involve the Salisbury University student community as well. The students there are facing some tough challenges with the state budget cuts to the university system, some of the tough choices that the administration is making. So I want to discuss that with some of the students that go into the university. So I brought in Tom Grayo. Thank you for coming out. Kevin Ladd and Michael Greco. Thank you, gentlemen.
No problem.
So
Absolutely.
before we dive in, what is your major? And what year are you?
I am a nursing major, and I'm currently a sophomore.
All right. Kevin?
I'm a graduate student in the history department.
And Mike?
And I'm a sophomore in the communication department with a track in multimedia journalism.
And, you know, I had a chance to talk to each of you before we started shooting. I mean, you're from Berlin, Dover, just across the bridge, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, Salisbury is part of your backyard, just like it is for me. Oddly enough, I did take some classes at SU while I was also an undergrad as well. So thank you guys for coming out and talking about this. So what do you understand about the cuts, the nature of the budget cuts that the university is facing? And Mike?
As obviously coming from somebody who's only been at this institution for 2 years, there's not a lot, obviously, that I am very knowledgeable about. Obviously, there's a lot of hearsay going on, going among the student body, whether it be student media with different student newspapers going around on campus thinking one way or thinking another way. So it's a lot of just... It's challenging to try and navigate it all and try and figure out, separate the truth from the stuff that's being blown out of proportion. As far as I understand, I think that there's been a heavy focus on different clubs and organizations trying to raise their own funding, especially with the Giving Day the Giving Day stuff that they have going on. So I'm a member of the Sports Network, so we had our own thing where we had a fundraising link that donors could go to and raise their own money. So I think that's been going on for a while, at least how I understand it. So the clubs and organizations are trying whatever way that they can to help keep themselves funded.
So Kevin, you have more experience at the university. What is your understanding, and when did you become aware that there was going to be budget cuts?
Well, I had the kind of premonition that we'd be experiencing this when I started seeing some of the rhetoric at a national level from the Department of Education kind of focusing on a push towards privatization of schooling and homeschooling and things like that. And I see this as our personal inevitable feeling of the national effects. And so now we're kind of starting to experience it ourselves. I assume there's probably other universities in the country that are going through the same things or will be at some point.
So, Tom, tell me. I mean, have you heard much outside of just like what you were hearing? Is it hearsay, or are you getting direct communication from the school?
So what the information that I've gotten has actually come from a couple of the classes that I've been taking with students and professors talking about it. So I definitely would say that majority of it is hearsay, but a lot of it is fact too. I mean, the federal government is pushing for a multitude of budget cuts across the entire country. So it's not just Salisbury.
So what is your perspective of the cuts? I mean, like, there's always been times throughout history that we've had to, quote unquote, tighten our belts. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the students are being punished for decisions other people are making, or do you feel like, hey, this is just part of the cycle of an ebb and flow of an economy?
I kind of feel as if it's, a tad bit of both, a little bit of both. There is some natural just budget cuts happen for a reason, but I think a lot of it just depends on the reason that it's actually happening. I think for a lot of the things at Salisbury, just the budget cuts that we're seeing are, the information that I've gotten hasn't come from the school. It's come from people on their own time and students on their own time, and maybe even some faculty doing research about actually what's going on. Most of it's published because it should be, so we're entitled to know, but the actual awareness has come from our student and faculty realizing that something is going on, and we need to make a push for figuring out what exactly is being prioritized and what is being set aside.
Well, Kevin, I want to ask you again, because of your experience, SU historically in 2022 and 2023 has had a surplus. Mm-hmm. Have you had communication about when there was a surplus, and are you getting a different level of communication now that there's being cuts?
Yes, I thought it was interesting, kind of that you were mentioning the visibility of these cuts. Whenever there was a surplus or something, the students may receive an email speaking about all these extra resources we have available. But it seems that now, as you mentioned, it's only through kind of student and faculty looking up the public records of our budgets that we're learning this information. We're not receiving email from Dr. Laprie stating, hey guys, sorry, we're going to have some budget cuts. These are the things that are going to be affected by that. So,
Well, Michael, I want to ask you, I mean, you're part of the sports broadcast, but you're also a multimedia communications major. Are you seeing more of the cuts under what hat? Your major or your extracurriculars?
I think I would have to say, obviously, because the organizations and the clubs are a little bit smaller, obviously, than the vast department of a university. Obviously, that one might receive a lot more funding because that's what the university is built upon, the foundation of it. So it would be the same thing as if saying, are we going to see more cuts to the Henson School, or are we going to see it more of a cut to maybe a club that specified, like a student-ran organization that specifies in a certain area? So I think a lot of people, if they had to choose a priority, I think they would probably end up choosing those academic institution or the parts of the institution which directly go towards the major programs. And I think that's just how it is with whether you're talking about a college or a high school or anything like that. Anytime that you have to start figuring out where the fat is to cut off, it's going to be the things that are deemed maybe not as essential. So
So you're saying that don't cut from the majors, from the classes, from that experience, but cut from maybe some of the other ancillary activities?
I believe that would probably be the most beneficial for everybody, just so that you can have the foundation to build that education. For me, at least, the clubs and stuff is all part of that gaining experience that you would need to put on your resume. That's personally what I do it for. So when I'm doing my extracurriculars here, it's so I can put it on my resume to accompany my education. So I think both are just very important to the student experience and to the experience that you will bring into the workforce. So I can understand why it would be so difficult to try and figure out where you take the cut from in the university standpoint.
Well, Tom, I mean, listen, of everybody's majors here, and everybody is important, but you're a nursing major.
Yeah.
I mean, are you expecting to see this impact your ability to complete your major and get the experience you need to get out into the workforce?
I'm hoping no. I'm hoping that won't happen. But, I have to kind of take it from a realistic approach that there is always a possibility of that happening. What we've seen is more admittance into the program, which is great on pen and paper. It's more possible funding.
But does that mean bigger class sizes?
It will be. It'll be bigger classes, and there will be a little more competition for actually getting hands-on resources. One of the biggest aspects of the major that I'm in is learning and acquiring hands-on skills and abilities that you need in a hospital scenario. And with a overcrowded competition amongst the nurses trying to learn, some people might not, get a full grasp of the ability or might not be able to do certain skills.
I certainly hope I'm not the one in the hospital when maybe one of the newly graduated nursing students who didn't get the hands-on training they were supposed to get is now up to work on me. I mean, that's not the time for them to be figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, you have the most experience of everybody at this table at the university. There's obviously a lot of talk going around about the large salaries and the raises that the administration's getting. Want to get your perspective on when everybody's having to tighten their belt up, but then you look at salaries exceeding $400,000, $300,000. How does it make you feel as someone who's already got so much invested in your education at Salisbury University?
I think it's kind of obviously contradictory. If our university, if our rhetoric is saying, we're here to build up our students and train them and give them the best possible university experiences, and then amongst these budget cuts that will be bringing larger class sizes, probably underfunding some resources for clubs and things like that, it's a bit of a slap in the face to then see these published records of the salaries of the administration, with a large majority of the highest up positions getting a 9 to 12% pay raise.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a business owner in the private sector for over 30 years. Getting much more than a 3 to 5% pay increase without a position change is rare. I mean, rare. But I also, when I look at some of the charts, what I've noticed is there's a lot of new positions in the administration level. And again, Tom, I kind of want to circle back to you.
Yeah.
How many times in your nursing program has someone from the administration come in to teach you what you need to know?
What do you mean?
Has anybody from the administration showed up in one of your labs? We were talking off camera. We're both science guys. Labs are a big part of my science degree and your nursing degree. Have any of these new positions that have been added in the last few years, have they been in your labs teaching you?
No.
Okay. For you, Michael, I mean, you're building yourself up through not just your education, but immersing yourself in your major, so that when you're completed your degree, you almost have a record of, hey, look, this is how far I've grown, not just with grades, but also with context, with calling games. If you get to a point that you're not able to do it, does it diminish your education, your ability to find work after school?
I don't believe so. Obviously, with the vast market of communications, there's a lot of opportunity. So say if my opportunity were to get cut at the university, hypothetically, I could go to a station, a local news station nearby, maybe WBOC, WMDT, or if I wanted to stay in the sports area, I could go and work for the Delmarva Shorebirds just down the road. So I think I'm very privileged and very lucky to have dreams and aspirations into a career that has all of those opportunities outside of my institution. I'm just also very lucky that Salisbury has all that it has to offer to me in terms of things that I can do to build up my background and my portfolio, as you mentioned, so that I can go into a very competitive work market and be able to say, hey, while I was getting my degree in a relative field, I also have now, by the time I graduate, about 4 years worth of experience that maybe a lot of people going into the market won't have. So going back to your question, I think that even if things were to get cut here at the university, I think me personally, I might be able to make it out of it because of all the outside of the university opportunities that are still available to me. And I can, at the same time, understand when people who are not communication majors and maybe have to worry about the outside connections that they could build outside of the university pertaining to their major. I can understand maybe when they won't have that much of a surplus like I am lucky enough to benefit from.
So, Kevin, I mean, one of your goals is international education. Is there a fear that some of these budget cuts, while we're also increasing administrative wages, could put almost a ceiling on your ability to reach your goals?
Yes, I mean, at this university, I would have to say I've already kind of had to do a lot of that work myself if I wanted to, in terms of working outside of maybe outside of traditional education or traditional kind of like expectations for education. I've not been, outside of a few kind of mentors and professors, really had any push or led in that direction. It's all kind of been having to reach out to things myself.
Push yourself outside the lines. So there is going to be a protest on campus on Wednesday, April 23rd at 3 o'clock outside the Greery Academic Commons. Our show will post after that. But I want to ask each of you gentlemen and take some time. What do you want, and I'm going to start with you, Tom, what do you want people to know who are outside of the campus, and in particular folks who live and reside in this county who, whether they understand it or not, Salisbury University is part of their economic system here. What do you hope that people will know?
I, kind of am hoping on a main takeaway of two things. One, in like a general aspect of people need to understand that students and college students going up for a higher education are the backbone of the future generations. We are the ones taking care of everybody and, continuing to push for jobs and just keep the country running. Specifically from a nursing background, if budget cuts end up cutting nursing, who's going to take care of people when they're sick or injured or get into a car accident or, facing a life or death situation? That stuff isn't just learned off of, videos online. You have to have years of experience and go through so much training. And if it ends up affecting that, people need to understand that they're not going to be able to get simple care and stuff that is like overlooked right now.
It won't be SU's provost showing up to put, help, set your arm, right?
Yeah.
Kevin, how about you? I mean, what do you hope? I mean, you have the graduate, you already have your undergrad degree. You're working on a graduate degree. What do you want people to know?
I mean, it's a bit frustrating, I guess. As you said, the students are kind of the work, the backbone of the university. The university could not exist without students. And if we're kind of being shown to our face that we aren't the priority, that oh, you guys will be all right, it's a slap in the face first off. I think that's my main takeaway. I would like people to realize that if we kind of consolidate these programs, first off, students are going to have less of a desire to come to our university. If we offer less clubs and extracurriculars and things like that, that is a big draw for a lot of people. So, I mean, the university, public universities, it's a for-profit business, but at the same time, we need to have some students to generate profit, and we need to have students who want to tell their friends, hey, you should check out Salisbury University. I had a really great time there. I met all these cool people. I had all these all these really cool clubs that I was a part of. I mean, if we just break it all down and put all the money in Purdue or something like that, that's great. We might have a couple future CEOs coming out, but we're going to lose maybe all the liberal arts students. They're going to go somewhere else. All the theater kids, all the history kids, all the English majors, and then all of a sudden we have a Salisbury University as a business school. That's it,
Michael, what do you hope that folks out there who may be watching this, whether they're in Dover, Delaware, or all the way down here to Salisbury, what do you want them to know?
I think one of the main takeaways, at least for me, is that in my limited time here, I see how dedicated the student body is to making sure that they're being heard. Just this year alone, I mean, we've seen so many demonstrations and organized protests by the student body. When something isn't exactly the way that they would like it to be, they're going to make sure that their voice is heard. And I think that's just an overall commentary on the state of the world that we're seeing right now with the upcoming generation, is that they're not going to sit idly by and let something take advantage of them. I think one of the biggest things that you can see from the protests that would be happening on Wednesday, I think it's another edition of the Salisbury student body advocating for the change that they want to see. And I think that a lot of people can look at that and maybe even be inspired to maybe advocate for themselves or things that they find that are not exactly going the way that they want to go. And if they just a feeling of inspiration from the younger generation, I think, to take it positively from something like that, I think that would be some of the most important things that you could do.
I'll tell you guys. In the last few years, I've been very involved in the local politics scene. Not an elected official or anything like that, but it's very much very very important that even a small group be able to stand up for themselves and have the platform to do it, and even sometimes have to come together as a bigger group. So I really appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to come out here. I wish you all well, and the university is worth fighting for. So stay positive and keep at it. Okay.
100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roaring Point Park, located about 30 miles west of Salisbury off of Nanticoke Road, offers one of the best swimming beaches on the Chesapeake Bay. There you'll find about 3/4 of a mile of sandy beach with a shallow, gently sloping bottom that's ideal for swimming. The beach can get a bit skinny when tides are particularly high, but there's usually enough room to plant your umbrella. A parking lot is available if you're visiting Roaring Point Park by car, but it can get pretty busy on hot summer weekends, so be sure to come early enough to grab a parking space. Porta potties are situated in the parking lot, and it's just a short walk through a wooded area to access the beach. A soft launch for canoes and kayaks is also close by. Roaring Park is free to all, and dogs are welcome provided that they're leashed. But please clean up after your dog so that no one accidentally steps barefoot into, well, you know. Although camping is not permitted at Roaring Point Park, a popular private campground is situated immediately next door. The point for which the park is named is actually a sandy cape that extends several hundred yards out into the Nanticoke River. Depending on wind direction, the cape usually protects part of the beach from wind and waves. Although the water is shallow on both sides of the cape, once you go past the tip, the depth drops to almost 50 feet, so be careful. Tugboats pushing huge barges of sand and gravel regularly ply the Nanticoke River in the channel just beyond the cape, and you'll also see commercial oystering and crabbing boats working the river. A pine forest provides a pleasant backdrop to the shoreline, and abundant wildlife can be found at Roaring Point throughout the year, with 140 different species of birds, including bald eagles, ospreys, and brown pelicans counted among them. Off in the distance, on the opposite side of the Nanticoke River, you can see the Fishing Bay Wildlife Management Area and its extensive salt marshes. Roaring Point is a particularly popular place to travel to by boat. If your boat is small enough, you can pull it right up onto the sandy beach. Larger boats often drop anchor just a few feet offshore where the water is wadeable, but still deep enough to remain afloat without digging your propeller into the sand. By late May, the water at Roaring Point is usually warm and comfortable, making it a great place to plant your beach chair right in the river to keep you cool while minnows nibble at your toes. You can also fish and crab directly from the beach or from your boat within easy sight of the shoreline. Then, when the summer heat becomes too oppressive, it's easy to return to the beach, anchor up, and take a swim. Fish, crab, swim, and relax at Roaring Point Park, or just come to take a pleasant walk on the beach. For more information, please visit the Wicomico County Recreation, Parks, and Tourism website.
Welcome back to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. Staying in the studio with me is Mr. Mike Goldberg back. Thanks for sticking around. Well, I thought the students did a great job of articulating some of their viewpoints. I want to get a little sense of, what did you find? You were able to watch the segment being filmed.
Well, first of all, I'm pretty impressed with these young people. It gives me a little bit of hope for the future when you have so many, intelligent, articulate young people. They're certainly looking to the future. We need to have a trained professional workforce, and I feel that their concerns are very legitimate. If there's too much money taken away from actually educating and from the associated extracurricular activities that helps them to broaden, their skill set and their practical experience, instead of focusing on the educational part of their college experience when too much money is going towards administrative costs, they're not going to get as good of an education. So their gripes are quite legitimate, I think.
I definitely got the sense they weren't just here to get a piece of paper and a stamp on it. They were here for the experience. I do want to say, and we didn't go into the numbers with them. They've seen the numbers, but I have access to the actual data that shows the ballooning of administrative cost over at SU. And you're talking salaries over $400,000, $300,000 multiples. These are high leverage positions as far as the amount of money it takes. And then we're talking about cutting out club money for a whole club that impacts many students over $20,000. I think that makes it tough. You and I have spent a lot of our time dealing with county politics in much the same way. We can debate the merits of having an executive branch or having directors and deputy directors in every position. But at the same time, all that really matters to most people most days is was the landfill open? Was the excavators there doing the job that they should and not worrying about a private event for someone? Did the budget roll up and does it show that the money was spent for the greater good of the community? Their community is the student body there. They're asking the same question.
Well, educating these young people, that is their prime objective, not to have a top-heavy management structure. in the private sector where both of us come from, we know that when you're too top heavy, it's a lot of money wasted. In government, unfortunately, and schools are part of the government, when you do not have a profit motive, then you have inherent inefficiency. So they need to buckle their belts, tighten their belts, and we need to reduce the administration and be sure that those kids, those young people, are getting the education that they need.
You and I, we reference this, but let's be in a little bit more specifics. You come from a finance background, banking. Mm-hmm. You've poured over countless financial statements, pro formas, and that sort of thing. I come from a private sector with the hospitality business, from golf and from restaurant, even wholesale seafood, that sort of thing. If we were having to make budget cuts, the first place we would start would be at the top, correct?
That's where I would start. Yeah. Absolutely. Unfortunately, all too often, the cuts wind up coming from the bottom, and then the organization, whatever it is less capable of meeting its primary objective.
I think for folks out there watching our show, may ask, well, why are you so involved in a group with Salisbury University? One, they're a big part of our community and our economy.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a big fan of the school or not, it is nice to see, as you said, young people getting involved at an early age. You and I got involved at different parts of our lives. Mm-hmm. They're getting involved now. They're seeing a need for that. But I also think that there's this this sense that we should just take whatever's given to us. And I think part of our existence here in this country and in this county is that you do have to stand up and fight for yourself.
Absolutely. You have to be somewhat aggressive. You have to look out for your own interests. And, just to sit back and take whatever crumbs that they want to give you, that's not a pathway to success.
The one thing that stuck out, we talked about in the opening segment about the miscommunication. I found it interesting that when I asked each of the three of them, how did they find out about these budget cuts? They each got their information from different people that they found reliable. And I think that's one thing I want people to know. We were talking about the Republican Central Committee, invariably a committee that you and I would normally support, maybe not in this county at this time because of who's taking it over. But the information coming out of it right now isn't credible. And they were saying much the same thing, that they're having to find their own information. Primary source, I think, is the terminology. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody out there.
Absolutely. You can't take anything for granted from any news source, any source of public information. You have to look closely at things, and you have to seek out multiple sources. Then you're more likely to get to the truth. Mm-hmm. But when you have a concentration of power, as we have here in Wicomico County, where you have the same people who are controlling the executive branch of the government, who are controlling the Republican Club, who are controlling the Republican Central Committee. Three different organizations, but you're really only getting one message. And we've seen it all too many times. All too often, that message is not complete, or it's not even honest.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending some time with us. Research the information we've given you. Go back to primary source. We think you'll find the results will be much better. So we'll be back next week with another new episode.